Hello everyone and welcome to Recollection, where every game has a story. And this time, I wanted to be a bit more on topic with what things were going on. I kind of tried to do that with BlazBlue and Guilty Gear. This time feels a little bit more apt because I'm actually, familiar with the game I'm trying to connect with. And that, of course, is Metroid Dread. Now, this came out 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to do a recollection that weekend to have it all set, but E3 stuff kind of prevented me from getting right to it. But I wanted to talk about my first experience with Metroid and where I started in the series. And it's probably not where you'd expect, because my first Metroid game was Metroid II. Except, this is Samus Returns. I had Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, so my copy, and this is just such a cool feature of this physical version, was this Metroid 2. Got the nice little back of the box, back of the thing here, so we can actually see Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, and all of its wonderful Game Boy era graphics and whatnot. And that's the thing. I have no idea how I actually got Metroid because, it was out of nowhere from the best I can tell. I didn't know games that well. I know I enjoyed games, but I couldn't tell you which games I wanted. I didn't read magazines or anything like that. For the most part, my parents chose which games to get. And I have no idea who chose, who looked at this, yeah, he'll like this. I tried it out. I liked it, and I don't know who bought it for me. I have no idea who got it for me, and my family certainly doesn't remember. So it's just sort of this eternal mystery in my memory that I have no idea who got it for me, why they did, why it was chosen, or anything like that. Like Mario, I get. I started with Mario. Mario, of course, makes sense. It's the entire reason I never actually played Zelda on the NES, or I didn't have a Super Nintendo, or Zelda didn't come to me until much later. And yet I was there pretty early on for Metroid on the Game Boy, and when I played it, I loved it. I loved what it did. The cool cave system, Samus herself, finding secrets and fighting the Metroids and working through it. It was a really fun time, but I never beat it. And that's because I had no idea what I was in for, no idea that I probably should be mapping things out. I just was not familiar with games of this type. And I always inevitably got stuck because I didn't realize that in order to progress, you needed to find and fight all the Metroids. And my firmest memories was starting out the game, working my way through, exploring, and eventually, I always remember getting the Spider Ball. And I don't know how early on the Spider Ball is, because it's been a while since I've replayed the original Metroid 2. And I basically get that and just spider ball along every wall, bombing it constantly, just bombing everything I could, trying to find a way to find the way forward, because I was like, where do I go? What do I do? I had no idea. I knew the acid was in the way. I knew there was a lot of stuff below the acid. I had no idea how to clear the acid or that I was connected to the Metroids. I think I probably cleared the first set, which every time you clear a section of SR388, it lowered the acid and you can explore the next section. It makes it a bit more linear than Metroid had been in the first game. But I think I cleared the first set, didn't understand why the acid would lower, and eventually just get stuck. And I restarted that game so many times thinking, okay, if I start from the beginning again, maybe I can figure out where to go. Not this time. Okay, we'll try again later. And despite never being able to beat it, it did form a connection with the game, and I loved it. It was such a good time. The graphics were kind of amazing because Samus had such a big sprite. She felt so detailed. And it was fun to learn later that the reason, that Samus looks the way that she does, her iconic look, for as much of a black sheep Metroid 2 is kind of viewed as, in retrospect, at least for a while, it did give her her most iconic look, which was the Varia suit with the giant shoulders. And the Varia suit was in the original NES version, I later came to learn, but it didn't change her appearance that much. It didn't give her the big shoulders. The reason they added that is because on Game Boy, you didn't have different colors to differentiate the new suits that she got, so there needed to be a visual way to convey that. And that's when they came up with just these huge shoulders for her. And I don't even think I made it that far to get that upgrade, but it was just something that really, I really enjoyed. And yet I never beat it. So this is when we get to the sad part of the story, because you might notice I'm, using the 3DS version and, the conveniently placed back of the, cover slip. Well, that's because at some point, I don't know when, but I just got encouraged to trade in a bunch of games in order to get a little extra money, buy new games. Never tried it before, but GameStop or EB Games, one of them, were offering this up. And it was like, okay, well, here's a great opportunity to get new games. What games don't you really play? And I remember being pretty hesitant about it, but also, so I didn't get rid of a lot, but I picked and chose which ones that I felt I could probably sell and not really miss. And for the most part, I failed because I've since learned that I don't like getting rid of any of my games. It's just painful, and there's a couple of ones I did get rid of them, and I remember a few times where I was like, hey, I'm in the mood to play that again, and all of a sudden I didn't have it. And it happened to Dead or Alive 2, it happened to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and it happened to Metroid 2. And yeah, I traded away my Metroid 2 copy. Probably didn't get much. I don't remember getting much. I remember the big thing I got was when I sold back my copy of Metroid Marvel vs. Capcom 2 to GameSpot, and I remember getting so little money for everything else. But all of a sudden, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came up, and all of a sudden here's like $40. I'm like, did I just make a mistake? I feel like I just made a mistake when I got that much money from it. And yeah, I traded it away. And I really regret it, especially because I got so addicted to the Metroid franchise from that after that point. I think during the Wii era when I learned more about the character thanks to Smash Brothers, and like seeing Samus in Smash Brothers, like, oh, it's her. I played that game. That's cool. And the Wii Virtual Console, played Super Metroid for the first time. Really dug it. And then, had the Game Boy Advance where I played Zero Mission and Fusion, and all of a sudden I was a massive Metroid fan all the way. And it just, in retrospect, made me appreciate Metroid 2 so much more. But I don't own my physical copy anymore. I just sold it for some reason. Well, money. But because I couldn't beat it, I was like, well, I'll probably not play this anymore. I don't need to, I can't get past it. I've always gotten stuck. I won't worry about it. And, obviously there's better ways to play. Samus Returns is a better game than Metroid 2, but there's that sentimental value. There's that idea that, this is my origin with the Metroid series, and obviously it means a lot to me. I love the genre. I love Metroid. I am so excited for Metroid 5, yet I don't have the game that got me on the path to loving Metroid. That's the crazy thing. I enjoyed it. It's not like I hated the game. I just decided to sell it. And it's sad. It is, but I have the 3DS Virtual Console version of it. That was cool to pick up and play again, and then realize, the funny thing is, when I played it again, I didn't even get as far as I did as a kid. I'm like, I got lost so much more quickly. It's like, how did I figure this out as a kid? Why am I stuck already? And I was just like, am I dumb? Like, what am I doing wrong? But either way, it's kind of a sad memory. It's depressing that I don't have it, but there's a lot of better ways to play now. Samus Returns is a great one. Another Metroid 2 remake if you want to check out a fan game, it's still great. But that's my origin with the Metroid series, and how I don't have that piece of my history in my game collection anymore. It's a weird feeling, especially because I'm so used to holding up the cartridges or whatever at this point for recollection. But in that case, I don't have it. But I'm curious what all of your starts to the Metroid franchise is. If you've started already, like maybe Metroid 5, Metroid Dread will be your first. And if that's the case, I'm looking forward to what convinced you this time around to pick up the series. But tell me your stories in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoy this series of recollection, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/gvgaming. And of course, ring that bell for all of our new videos as they come out. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you next week for even more recollection. Until then, everyone, bye.